A very good morning to my dear students. I hope that you are doing well and keeping safe at your homes. Anyway, in the last class we had discussed a real life incident from the life of Gandhi, which he himself narrated in his autobiography, My Experiment with Truth. So, from learning that chapter, we came to know about the importance of holding truthfulness and values in one's life. Okay, today we are actually planning to deal with a poem which is included under the 9th chapter. The title of the poem is Where the Mind is Without Fear. Where the Mind is Without Fear by Rabindranath Tagore. Okay, so before getting started with this poem, you might have some background information about this poem. So, what is so special about Rabindranath Tagore? Do you know? Yeah. Rabindranath Tagore is actually the first Indian to have been received or to have been awarded as the first Nobel Prize in India. Okay, Rabindranath Tagore actually got Nobel Prize in the year 1913. So, he is actually the first Indian to have received the first Nobel Prize in India, and that was in the year of 1930. And he got this award for his beautiful anthology of poem, entitled as Geethanjali. So, Geethanjali is actually an anthology of poem, or it is actually an anthology of poem, and there are 157 poems in Geethanjali. So, Geethanjali is actually an anthology of poems, and there are 157 poems in Geethanjali. So, see, look at the word Geethanjali. If we divide this word Geethanjali, we can divide Geeta plus Anjali. Okay, so Geeta means Geetham. In Malayalam or in Sanskrit, Geeta means song, and in Anjali, in Malayalam, either in Malayalam or in Sanskrit, Anjali means a group. So, we can say that Geethanjali is actually a group of poems or a collection of poems. So, this 157 poems together together included under the anthology Geethanjali. Okay, and this collection of poem actually won the first Nobel Prize in India in the year 1930. So, as I said, there are 157 poems in the book, in this anthology of poem Geethanjali, and Where the Mind is Without Fear is one among those 157 poems. So, like Where the Mind is Without Fear, there are other 156 poems in that anthology. So, this poem is actually from those 157 poems. Okay, so this you have to remember. Now, we are actually moving to read the preface portion. So, all of you please read, listen, and please do listen and read along with me. Where the Mind is Without Fear. Okay, when this poem was written, the British ruled over India. Now we are free, but are we free in the sense Tagore conceived of freedom? Let us do a little soul searching. So, this poem has got a very importance, or this poem has got a very significance, especially in these times or in these days. So, the question of discussion is clear here. What is the question of discussion? We gained freedom years ago, but are we free nowadays? Are we free in the sense Tagore conceived of freedom? Are we free? Really, are we free? So, such a question is being raised here by the writer, and that clearly depicts India's condition, India's social condition, India's political condition, India's religious condition, even after its years after its independence. Okay, and before getting started with this poem, you might also note the point that this poem was written, the British ruled over India. This poem was written when the British ruled over India. That means this poem was written in the year 1912. Okay, this poem was written in the year 1912, and this poem got the Nobel Prize in the year 1913. So, 1912 we gained independence in 1947. So, this poem was written during the time when we were under whose power? We were under the British rule. Okay. So, this poem is actually written years ago. So, this poem was written years before our independence. Okay. That means, yeah, what was actually the social political condition of India, or socio-political religious condition of India before independence? Yeah, if you look at this year, or if you look at the year in which Tagore wrote where the Gitanjali, you could easily find that India was not that much liberated in any realms in that particular period or in those years. See, we practiced child marriage, we practiced child labor, we practiced sati. So, all those superstitious beliefs were there, and India was under the grip of caste system. India was under the grip of financial instabilities. So, in no way India was free in those times. So, at that time Rabindranath Tagore wrote this poem, yeah, by expressing his views of his nation to be free from to be free from the grip of all these powers. Okay, so primarily we were under the British rule. So, we were actually suffering from fear, the fear of the British, the fear of the power of British people, the fear of actually the fear of the police, fear of the army, fear of the police, fear of the landlords, fear of the tax collectors. So, in that way we were under many kinds of fear during the British ruled India. So, at that time Rabindranath Tagore was actually dreaming about an India which was completely free from all those, all those power. India was free from all those monstrous powers. Okay, so this is actually the thing you have to understand before getting started with the poem. Okay, now I think you at least have got an idea about this the time in which the socio-political situation in which the poem was written. Now we can have a reading. Okay, now I am going to read the poem, so please do listen and read along with me. Okay. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depths of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way, into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee, into ever widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. So, the first lines of this poem are written in the form of a request, and the request is done by the poet to whom? To the Almighty, to the supreme power, to God. Yeah, if you look at the last two lines, you can summarize the whole meaning of the poem. Yeah, into ever widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. So, all the things which are described in the beginning lines are only the conditions, or only the state of mind. And the poet is actually requesting God to let his country or to let his people into such kind of a society. So, the first few lines are clearly depicting about the qualities of the society he would like to have for his own nation. So, he actually prays to God to let his country, to let his people into such kind of a society. Now, we can have a discussion about the qualities of the nation which Tagore wished to have. Okay. Now, look at the first two lines. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free. So, he prays to God to let his country to a place where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, to a place where knowledge is free. See, here the poet has cleverly used the word fear, and this fear has got many connotations, or this fear has got many implications. Can you say what are the implications laid down by the poet when he mentioned the word fear? Yeah, as I said, this poem was written during the British rule over India, and at that time Indians were under various kinds of fear. Indians were primarily afraid of the British police. They were primarily afraid of the British army. They were primarily afraid of the British landlords. They were primarily afraid of the native tax collectors appointed by the British people. So, I don't know whether you had seen the movie Parashiraja, or the first part of the movie. Yeah, I forgot its name. Tacholi, or something like that. I exactly forgot its name. Okay, so if you watched those movies, you could have guessed the socio-political situation of India during that time. Indians were under the fear of many things. They were afraid of the British army. They were afraid of the British police. They were afraid of the British tax collectors. So, in that way, Indians were under the grip of several fears. And the poet Rabindranath Tagore was completely dissatisfied with this condition, or he was completely sad about his nation's condition, or his nation's suppressive condition. Okay, so he genuinely asks, or he genuinely prays to his master, that is the supernatural power here, to let his country to a place where there is no fear. Everyone everyone held their head high. That means everyone has the power to stand straight. That means simply they are free from all those suppressions. So to such a country, the poet wanted his nation to move on. Okay, and where knowledge is free, where each one has the freedom to acquire knowledge as he or she wishes. See, in the British ruled India, even the low caste people, even the low caste people or low class people were not allowed to gain education, were not allowed to gain good education. So here the poet is actually wishing a time or wishing a nation where each of its citizens gets, or each of its citizens gets the freedom to acquire the knowledge as he or she wishes. Okay, so this is actually the poet's notion about the freedom. Okay, where the world has not been broken up into fragments. Look at the meaning of fragments given here. Small parts or pieces by narrow domestic walls. If you look at the socio-political situation, especially the social situations of India during the British rule, the society was broken into different parts, or the society was broken into different pieces. See, there were 4 layers of caste. The Brahmins at the top, then Kshatriyas, then Vaishyas, and then Shudras. So the society is divided into 4 categories, and the Brahmins are always assigned with priestly functions, and the Kshatriyas are related with the war activities, and the Vaishyas are related with the trade and commerce, and the Shudras are supposed to serve all these 3 highest classes. So this was actually the social situation that was prevalent in the British ruled India. In such a society, there was no equality. The society was being broken into pieces, as Brahmins, as Kshatriyas, as Vaishyas, and as Shudras. And people of the same blood enjoyed freedom in different level. So this Rabindranath Tagore didn't like at all. So that is what here he said, that where the world has not been broken into fragments. So he actually wanted to move his nation to a place where there is no differentiation, or he prays to God to let his country to a place where there is no divisions, there is no differentiations. By narrow domestic walls, narrow domestic walls means people are ruled by, or people are guided by narrow minded thoughts. Narrow minded thoughts means simply the thoughts of caste based society, the thoughts of class based society. So in that way he prays to God to let his country to a state where there is no differentiation and where there is no narrow minded thoughts. Okay, where words come out of the depths of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection. And he also prays to God to let his country to a place where words come out of from the depths of truth. That means words come out of from the depths of truth means a society where everyone can express their views without any fear. That means where words come out from the depths of truth means they should have a fearlessness. Okay, where words come out from the depths of truth. That means if someone feels something, he or she has the freedom to express without any external intervention. That is the idea conveyed here. So where words come out from the depths of truth. So each one has the freedom to express what he or she feels. So in that way, where words come out from the depths of truth, that means everyone should entertain fearlessness. They will never be ruled by fear. Everyone will be ruled by fearlessness. To such a country, he actually prays to God to let his people move. Okay. Where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where each and everyone can get the ability or can get the chance to work hard in order to achieve something more. Where tireless striving, what do you mean by striving? Trying very hard to achieve something. So where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where each and everyone can contribute something, or which in a society in which each and everyone can work hard in order to attain perfection in the field where they are. Okay, so in such a society, he prays to God to let his country move on. Okay, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way, and he also wants to move his country to a place where every people are guided by reason. That means every people are guided by reason, not by superstitious belief. So India had a superstitious belief like Sati and all those things. If a husband died, the wife was happened to stop his life by getting into the fire of getting into the fire of her husband. And if a wife died, the husband could marry another woman. So in that way, such superstitious beliefs were there. So Rabindranath Tagore here actually wants to or prays to God to let his country to a place where there is no space for superstitious belief, to a state or to a condition or to a place where each and every one is guided by reasonable thoughts, not superstitious belief. Okay, into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom my Father led my country away. And into the dreary desert. What do you mean by dreary? Dreary means dull and not interesting. So into the dreary desert sand of dead habit. What does it mean? So he actually prays to God to free his country from manipulation, corruption and slavery. So all these things were actually prevalent in the British ruled India. There was corruption, there was slavery, there was sati, there was child marriage, there was caste system, there was class system. So here the poet actually prays to God to free his country from all these dead habit. Okay, so into the dreary desert. Dreary desert means dull, not interesting. So in that way, India was once a land, a not interested land. It was not a good land once. It was under the grip of slavery, it was under the grip of child marriage, it was under the grip of sati, it was under the grip of caste system. So in that way, India was not a good place to live in. So into the dreary desert sand of dead habit. Once our nation was actually a dreary desert, a not interested desert of what? Dead habit. So there were so many dead habits like that of I mentioned right now, like such as child marriage, sati, corruption, slavery and all those things. So he prays to God to let his country free from all those things. Where the mind is led forward by thee into ever widening thought and action. So he prays to God to let his country move into ever widening thought and action. Yeah, to a situation, to a place where there is freedom of mind, there is freedom of expression, there is freedom of mind. That is what here it is said, that into ever widening thought and action. So he actually prays to God to let his country, to a place where there is freedom of mind. Okay, into that heaven of freedom, my father led my country away. So into such a state, he prays to God to let his country awake. So this is actually the concept of Rabindranath Tagore's freedom. When India did not gain freedom, okay, or when India was under the British rule. Okay, so all the things referred or mentioned here is Rabindranath Tagore's notion about freedom and his notion about India's freedom before its actual freedom in 1947. Okay, so in that way, this poem can be taken as a national anthem. It can be taken as a national anthem because this poem was written before our independence, and in this poem one could find a clear overview or clear notion about India's freedom. Okay, so in that way this poem can be taken as a national anthem. Okay, and you have to remember some more things, that this poem is actually written in which language? This poem is actually written in Bengali language, and so Rabindranath Tagore actually Rabindranath Tagore is actually from Bengal, and he is a Bengali poet, and so this poem is also written in Bengali literature. So Tagore is also called as the Bard of Bengal. Okay, so these are the things you have to remember and you have to note. Anyway, I think you at least have got an idea about the poem. So I think all the things which we discussed today are clear to you. So I think this is the time to wind up. Anyway, thank you and have a nice day. Bye bye.